Welcome back to Thursday Night Knives. I'm Bob DeMarco. Coming up, I'm going to show you a couple of things I got from the Texas Custom Knife Show last week. We are going to have Zak Wingard of Wingard Wearables on the show. If you haven't seen his new knife, the Love Handle, is just about to drop. I cannot wait to check that out. He's going to send one our way, a review sample. I'm very happy about that. I might just have to build a meat man for that opportunity. I keep threatening to do that, but let's face it, it's a lot of cash, and then you got to come up with a bunch of different recipes afterward for slashed up meat. But I do want to make a meat man. We have a giant bamboo forest right down the street. I can go there and harvest bamboo to make this meat man with no problem. So maybe that's what I'll do. Well, I'll have to wait to get the Love Handle here when Zach sends it this way. Another great name, the Love Handle, for a Wingard product. Dave, this old sword, how's it going, sir? Welcome back, Bob, you old Texan and pal of Jim Bowie. That's right. I think I'm gonna try and adopt Bowie. I heard it so much. Bowie, it is. Blade Ogre. Blade Ogre, also not also a Texan. Blade Ogre, a Texan. Good to have you here, Chris. Five Door, greetings, fellow junkies. Hey, it's good to have you here, Five Door, as always. Did you get a chance to go to Buc-ee's in Texas? The one by me in Baytown used to have Boker, but still has Bear & Sons like that baby Bowie. No, I did not. I didn't go anywhere. I went to the Texas Custom Knife Show while I was there, and that was a kind of an all-day, both weekend days. The day before, I came early because I wanted to kind of just check out the environs. So I drove up to a state park, and I keep forgetting the name of it. It'll come to me in a second. But I just walked around and checked that out, and then ate at a fantastic Mexican restaurant a few times, and that was about it. But I was near a place called Cut and Shoot, and to me, I'm like, oh, I like this state. Cut and Shoot, that's awesome. Ryan Dye, good to see you here, Ryan. What's up, Knife Warriors? He says, we are just here having an awesome night. Will B, how's it going? Hey, Bob, Jim, and fellow junkies. Hope everyone is having a great Thursday evening. We are indeed. I hope you're having a good evening too. So this whole Texan thing is reflected in the knife featured under the knife cam tonight. I have the Western Bowie out from Cold Steel. Nick EDCer, what's up, everyone? He says, Nick, how's it going, sir? Nomadic Adventures gives me 3 rectangles. Well, 3 rectangles right back at you, sir. I know that those are rectangles of endearment. Will B says they're opening a Buc-ee's about 30 minutes north of me here in Ohio. Okay, so what is Buc-ee's? I know it can't just be a knife store. Is it an outdoor store? Do tell. I'd be interested to find out. I'd love to say, hey, Watch and Cut channel. Hey, how's it going, man? Okay. You just had something recently. What was it? Alex, this is Alex formerly of Alex's Night, Alex of the Watch and Cut channel, but he had a watch on recently that really caught my attention, and dang it, I can't remember what it was. Lots of cool things on his channel though. Ryan Dye says that is a beautiful boy. Yes, indeed it is. Alex, I've gone down the watch route, or at least in spirit. I haven't been able to actually in monetary form too much. I got the Arnie for my birthday, and then I recently got a Casio Duro, $50, but a great bang around sort of dive watch. I love that thing. Chris says, yep, Cut and Shoot used to have rattlesnake roundups and swap meets. That's awesome. Rattlesnake roundup. So yeah, we were about 30 miles west of there, I think. Blade Ogre, Buc-ee's is the king of all gas stations. Wow, you can buy a Bowie knife there, huh? Northern Knives, good to have you here, Northern Knives. Hello, Bob, Jim, and junkies, he says. Speaking of another rugged place I would love to check out, independent-minded, and, well, thanks to present company, it looks like there may be inroads in the future. I mean, there definitely is. So for that, I'm grateful. And my wife seemed pretty psyched about that as well. Jay McConnell, good to have you here, Jay. Evening Junkies. Thanks in advance to all the veterans in the house. Absolutely. Thank you. Tomorrow is Veterans Day. So to my brother-in-law, to Alex, both Marines, tell me more. Which one? Was it octagonal? An octagonal oil-filled something, Alex? I think. And it also seemed like something within reach, not a totally out there in terms of price. Luck Knives, what is up, everyone? He says, well, what's up with you, sir? We have Mike in the house making beautiful knives. LL Coil J, hello all, digging the beard. I'm still at the dirty bum phase of the beard. It's itchy, and I'm like, I don't know. I think it's just down the street, That's kind of where I am right now. But a couple more weeks. But you know what? You should always just say thanks when you receive a compliment. So thanks. Thanks, you dirty bum. You look like a dirty bum. Okay. We do have a guest coming up here, and I don't want to hog all the time. So with that being said, I do believe it's time for a pocket check. Okay, you caught me with the buoy still in hand. Buoy, I'm trying it on. It's like fetch, Okay, so here today I had the Kaiser Mystic. I have been loving this thing, and actually hadn't carried it for a while. I'm sure I've been showing it off a bit, so you might be thinking, really, again? But I actually hadn't carried it in a little while, and now I'm back with it and loving it. I did a little bit of flits on the blade. I did a bit of a forced patina on that Rex 45, and it just wasn't looking sincere. So I took off what I could without going too much at it, and I'm going to let the patinaing continue, but in a more authentic kind of way. So I'm going to have to do some fishing with it. I'm going to have to do some whaling with this knife, because that's the whole vibe of this knife. Mystic, Connecticut, whaling town, whaling, one of the top industries. Semper Fi to all my fellow Marines, says Alex. Amen. Semper Fi to all of you Marines, also from the bottom of my heart as well. Like my brother-in-law and our good friend Drew. Nomadic Adventures says, been slanging back rippers 2 times price. Been slanging back rippers at twice the price. What are you talking about? You mean like back ripper? Nomadic Adventures, do clear it up. Let me know what you mean, because that would be really cool if you had one left and one right in each hand. Definitely would be very cool. So yeah, very sharp. I like this Rex 45 a lot, not just because of how it can patina, but also it's really, really sharp. And it came really sharp. And you know me, I don't really use my knives that hard. So it's maintained an edge through cardboard and whatever else little bit I've put it through. And it seems like I will never, ever have to sharpen it. That's pretty much true for most of my super steel style knives. All right. I have 2 left. 400. So anyone out there looking for a back ripper, hit up Nomadic Adventures. Looks like he's got 2, and they are sweet. This is my desk. It's got the guards on it, and I never have the sheath on this, but I did travel with it recently. But ordinarily, it just sits right there on the desk, just in case I have to back rip while sitting at the desk. Next up, I have a brand new one in my front pocket. I've been going slip joints in the same pocket as my front right pocket, right next to the main. But this is the brand new Little Bro from Jack Wolf Knives. Just beautiful in that incredible blue Kieranite. It is just stunning. And to me, it's like looking into the universe. It's got a very cool look. It just kind of reminds me of a view from one of those telescopes. Very nicely contoured naturally and just smooth and feels great, but it's smooth and it's whatever that acrylic, whatever Kieranite is made of. So it's not very slippery in hand, even though it's very smooth. I guess wet it would be, but it kind of almost sticks to the hand the way it's slick like that. If you've ever handled Kieranite on a traditional knife, you know what I'm talking about. Just incredible. This was a baguette cutter today, and actually not ideal. That little bro is a great little knife, but it doesn't quite span the baguettes I get. So there's the older one, the one that was not discontinued, but not released due to blade wrap issues. I got to keep mine, and there's a tiny deflection on the edge that I sort of lazily tried to sharpen out. Didn't get all the way out, but hasn't affected me. Great knife. Now, the walk and talk on this one, the new one, to me is slightly lighter, which makes it slightly more manageable due to the small size. This one is a little bit stiffer, and not a big deal in either way. Next up, my fixed blade. Excuse me. Been carrying this a lot. Riding Appendix is the Nova 1 by myself and Hogtooth Knives. This, of course, is the prototype with the giant logo on it and a couple of other differences. But very happy. We have a couple of very happy with this knife. We have a couple of Nova 1 owners in the chat as we speak. This just carries so nicely. That's it was originally the Tonto, carried so nicely. That's why I asked to do a redesign on the blade or do another blade on that platform, just because it carries so well. And then we will be doing the Nova 2 coming up in the new year. I got to do some recoupage of fundage from a bunch of projects, and tomorrow we start on an exciting new plumbing project that was totally unexpected. So we're very much looking forward to that. So once that's taken care of and everything, I will be ordering a prototype. I have the design of the Nova 2, and just think where we were thinking maybe American cowboy for this. Think Viking for the next one. That'll give you some clue. James Moore, nice to have you here, sir. Hey, Bob, Jim, and fellow enthusiasts. Wish I could stick around, but I'm about to attend an open house at Recon 1. Ooh, that's awesome. As a prelude to the events this weekend, Friday Night Blade Affairs and the California Custom Knife Show. Alex, if you're still here, are you going to that? That sounds right up your alley. And Recon 1, if you don't follow them, they are a great follow on Instagram. Just beautiful stuff. Kevin Moore, nice to have you here, Kevin. What is up, Knife Nation? How is everyone doing? We're doing great here. This was my emotional support knife to round out the pocket check today. This is the Hadros from Civivi, designed by Dylan Mallory. Guy I've tried to get on the show so many times. He's such a cool, nice dude, and very humble. And it's sort of like, I let my knives speak for me. I'm like, oh, that's such a great answer. And I love his designs, and I'm especially fond of this one. So that was my emotional support knife today. So in my pocket, the Mystic, the new little bro, just dazzling in that gorgeous blue Kieranite, and then of course the Nova 1 and the Civivi Hadros. I'm going to do this in front of the mic so you can hear the walk and talk. Really nice. Oh, and I'll show you the snap. I'll do the snap. This is the old school way of doing it. Ready? So you can see how much it snaps out. I love that. It's not just to look cool. It's not just to show how tough and calloused your thumbs are. It is the way to see how that knife is actually snapping out without your fingers assisting or anything. So what were you guys carrying? Let me know. Drop it in the comments below. Let's see. I want to hear what you classy ladies and gents were carrying. Nomadic Adventure, Wingard, always top-notch products. Yep. Supply versus demand, handmade goods unavailable on website. Yeah, well, it just depends. You got to follow him. He's very good, or I should say Wingard Wearables is very good at getting the word out about their product drops. And me, I mean, I have not everything. I don't have any dick pics. I do want to get a dick pic. I have many of their products, and I'm not the guy who gets things when they drop, because I forget and I'm just not patient, or I'm not by the computer, whatever it is. So they can be gotten. But you're right. They are a premium and they're beautifully made, and they're not. It's not like you just can just find them on the secondary market easily or anything like that either. So, yeah, people buy Wingard wearables and they keep them. Ryan Dye says, carrying my Halloween night LCB sheep's foot. Jigged tie hedgehog. Very nice. That I got that right here. And the PM2 Warncliffe and XHP. That's awesome. The LCB, that's the Sniper Blade Works, right? Blade Ogre carrying the John Demko Riverwolf, the Demko AD 20.5, Tonto 3V, very nice. The Sniper Dashi, that's that neck knife. The ZT 0308, the More Texas Trapper, the Baron Sun Baby Bowie, the Hinderer XM18 Recurve, the MILF Recurve. That's the Australian company, right? The GEC Granddaddy Barlow and the Sleazy Ogre. Man, what a nice. So there's nothing in your day that pops up that you're like, well, I don't think I have the right knife for this, because you have all the bases covered. As usual, well done, sir. This old sword says, today's carry, Concept Integra. Isn't that a car? No, what is that? The Integra, the RSK Auto. Oh, yeah, that's an awesome one. The Microtech MS1, the BlackRock Boot Dagger. Ooh, that sounds awesome. Is that a ringed boot dagger? And the D-Rocket Zulu out the front. Oh, all very obviously very. So Dave's got an awesome eye, and he knows his stuff. The Microtech MSI. If that's the sheep's foot one, not crazy about it, but I want the recurve. I want the amphibian. That's what I need to get into my life, is the Microtech amphibian recurve. That thing is so choice. Luck Knife says, carried the Prince Customs Orokai. But no, can't be Orokai. Orachi today. I don't want to say Orokai because that sounds like Orokai. You know what I mean? Lord of the Rings. Northern Knife says, carrying a Sharp by Design Mini Evo harpoon with micarta inlay. Very nice. A colorful filth. That's Munko. And Northern Knife Spidey Chef. Northern Knives Spidey Chef collab. Do tell. What's that collab like? A Shirogorov Hati Gen 3 in carbon fiber and a tactile turn zirconium side click. Very nice. The Munko, what Munko, A, and then B, tell me about the Northern Knives Spidey Chef collab. I'd be interested to find out what it is, or like how it's unique. 5-door. Today, the Lake Champlain Barlow Clip Point Saw Cut and the Umnums on. All right. Since you mentioned it, let me show you. Here's something. Here's something that I have that's beautiful. First of all, it is a brand new sumptuous leather slip by Duty's Daggers. There, CDD Kevin Duty, made in the United States, beautifully stitched. His stuff is awesome. He's got a very fine hand and really, really nice. Really nice slips. So I had him make one for my clip point. Now, this one came with the olive drab canvas micarta that was kind of like this, except even grayer than this micarta. And it just was not, I'd oil it and it would sort of look green. It just was not doing it for me. So I dyed it lightly with indigo and kind of gave it this sort of maritime look. I really like that color, blue now. I'm not a huge blue knife guy, but this is like that really nice storm cloud blue that I don't know, just appeals. So I feel you on the Lake Champlain Barlow. Such a nice knife, and I think it's interesting that you listed that first in your carry. And since someone else mentioned the tie jigged hedgehog, well, okay, since you mentioned it, let me show you. I also commissioned a leather slip for that knife from Kevin Duty. So I got them both a couple of days ago. Very nice. And I love the red stitching on this sort of tan calves skin, already fitting like a glove. But here's the awesome hedgehog. What a great knife this is. Super thin, super hollow ground, or I should say super thin hollow ground blade. Let's take a look at that. And a very nice thin contoured jigged titanium handle. Great walk and talk, and fits beautifully in this slip. So very psyched about these combos here. And then I did this. I think I've shown you this a bunch of times. This was one that Kevin made for me as a gift, which was very nice, for the Ohio River Jack. So there's my little leather and modern slip joint party there. Oh, and actually, while we're on that, let me show you this, and then hopefully, I'm sure Zach will be here in a minute. But speaking of dyeing scales, did I ever show you this? This is my Benny's clip from Jack Wolf Knives, of course, and the Benny's clip was a black micarta, again, that just was more gray than black, even when I would try and put oil on it and try to darken it up and stuff like that. So I dyed this maroon, this burgundy, and it took really nicely, and I am digging it. I think it looks really nice. Let me see if the color pops if I put it on the gray instead of my pasty hand. Let's see. A little bit. But you can see here, let me put it next to green. Maybe it'll pop if it's next to green. Sort of. Anyway, very nice deep burgundy on this. And it's just cool. It's very easy and very quick to dye handles. I did a video doing the Lake Champlain Barlow, and I cut off a part of the beginning. But it's a good enough video that I'm just going to record a little thing in the beginning saying I cut off the beginning, and I'll put it up. And it's so easy to do, and it does not take much time at all. So, and it does not stain your pans. Well, it depends on your pans. Mine are the stainless steel all clads that we got for our wedding way back when, and it comes right out. So Professor EDC says, Bob, Jim, fellow junkies, brothers, hope everyone is doing well. Had a tough day, so I'm going to retire to my cave. Just wanted to leave my like and wish you all well. Cheers, Professor. Man, I hope your day turns around. Sometimes it just takes a little time alone to decompress, and so hope your day goes up from here, man. LL Coil J, SMF Aluminum, and Mike and Emerson Mini 15. Also, Professor, enjoy your new little bros. All right. So it looks like Craig Vincent has the armature auto correcting. Yeah, love that. Okay. All right. Gotcha. I love that armature. Jay McConnell, today I had the 15V Shaman with Aramis carbon fiber scales, a brown burlap micarta Boker Barlow, brown burlap micarta Barker. Yeah. Brown burlap micarta Boker Barlow, and a Crine Nomad in the waistband. Ooh, that sounds nice. So it looks like we have Zak Wingard here. Am I right, Jim? Am I picking up what you're putting down? BT knife and tool karambit with leather sheath. That sounds sweet. Ryan Dye says Lake Champlain Barlow. Hello, my love. She is back from Nueva. Hello. I love you too, baby. Have a good night. All right. She was on a train for hours and hours behind something that I think derailed. So yeah, she's gonna go hit the hay, and it's just good to know that the whole family is back. All right. Will B says Grimsmo Norseman Protect California Custom Knife Show Mordax, the Sharp by Design Evo Typhoon. So that's the second one here, because Northern Knives is rocking one of those today. Benchmade Rift Kaiser Begleiter XL, which I so generously and selflessly gave to my brother when he was in the hospital. I didn't realize I was giving it. I thought it was a loaner, so he would have something while he was there. But he said, "Thank you so much." I was like, "Sure." Just kidding. I gave it to him. Just kidding, Vic. Axial Shift, Spyderco Ronin 2, Olight Warrior Nano, and the Olight O-Pen Pro. Very nice. You're probably all thinking your brother is so generous, and look at what a stingy SOB you are. I am just kidding. I was giving it to him, and yeah, felt so.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Zach? How's it going, sir?
Very good. I'm happy, man. I got a knife in my hand. So
Well, let's hang on. Before we get to that knife in your hands, let's, in case any of you have been not watching this show ever, and you don't know who Zach is the man behind Wingard Wearables, a company whose main mission is to make wearable, time-proven weaponry and tools, like this back ripper, which, as you can see, is contoured to fit the human body in the waistband wear. Or say this here. I know we have a bunch of people in the chat who carry this, the quill. I have mine with some burnt jute on it. I think it makes it look like an ancient tool. And man, it makes you feel like an ancient man when you have this in hand, ready to go ancient on someone if need be.
absolutely. Always carry a spike. I'm in the home in the sweatpants. I got my back ripper on me. I got a Stingray Tomahawk under my arm, and my personal carry, the new knife we're coming out. I've got the prototype in the sweatpants as well. And it's all very comfortable. So yeah, it's always about, designing something far more than you think you'd be able to get away with carrying, but making it conform to the body. And it's just been all about finding them curves. So since we're all curved and different sizes of curves, right? But that's how you make it work. But thank you for having me on the show, and hope everyone is just having a great evening.
Oh man, it's always a pleasure. You talked about the Stingray. I have the Stingray here. This is usually in my top dresser drawer, but I brought it down for this occasion. And then I always have the Empress right next to the bed. So the Empress is my bedside Tomahawk. But I did take your advice. I did try throwing this a few times, but I was sheepish and didn't do well, and also took gouges out. And I was like, oh, I can't do it anymore.
Oh,
so
yeah. So what were you throwing at? What sort of target?
It's a soft, flat. I know that's the problem. Flat wood that I throw knives into, and I figured it would work.
Yeah, we throw out like tree trunk style targets. Like got a nice piece of Empress tree, I think is what they call it, Pollyanna, in the yard. Oh. Yeah, so definitely sinks in well with that. So, but yeah, I need to do a video on my throwing technique. So I throw in a kind of unusual way, but a lot of customers throw just more typical way, and it works as well. But yeah.
Andrew Bradley says, today I have my birthday knife, a favorite knife, and my new EDC, the Scallywag Tactical and Tour Knives collaboration called the Mutiny. It is black and my favorite knife. Andrew, happy birthday. And that sounds awesome, man. I hung out at the Scallywag Tactical booth for a little while, and they've got a pretty aggressive vibe. I like nomadic adventures, positive energy, and the rest are weapons. No doubt. All right. So let's talk about the love handle and the design, the very unique design. Hey, Gus.
So the love handle is long and curved. This knife is about 11 inches long, and that's so it can fit curved in a sheath with 2 discrete carry concept clips, and you wear it around this region here, like just under your waistband. So the handle protrudes up, and you fit it in, see, discreetly, like that. Very comfortable. Doesn't matter if you're wearing, sweatpants, dress pants, shorts, boxer briefs. That curve, because of the length of that curve, you can have that with the handle protruding up above the waistband, clipped in very comfortably. And so, one of the limitations when you have a straight object that's rigid and having it follow along the body, it's like, depending on where it is around your waistband, like if it's to the side on the hip, like the back ripper, it's hard to get a 6 to 7 inch long straight, rigid object to follow the contour. That's why you kind of got to like curve it around. And when it's in the front, it, really gets tough to get much beyond 8 inches of like straight, linear, rigid length. Like if you're going above 8 inches, you need that sort of curve. And so that's where that comes from for the love handle. And we had a naming contest because at the time, what you and I talked about it, weren't sure what to call it.
Yeah.
But we eventually decided, we're going to call it the love handle. So a lot of people contributed naming suggestions, but that's the one that came out.
We had a couple of people mentioning their EDCs. One of them, Kevin Moore, mentioned his Quill XL, which he carries all the time. And actually, he's the one who gave me the idea to wrap it. I think he's got some sort of a red paracord on his. But I dig that a lot. Nomadic Adventure says Store Manicus works best for target practice.
Store mannequins.
Oh, store mannequins.
That would work. Yeah, soft, squishy. Yeah.
Yeah, those Bob dummies are pretty good too. Jim, can you go to that mutiny comment real quick? I want to see some. The mutiny does, this is Andrew saying, the mutiny does not have the blade steel emblazoned on the side of blade or the name or someone's signature. It's very sterile and gorgeous. I love that. I love that.
I like that too. Not too much like, Cold Steel would, I love Cold Steel knives where they'd have, broken skull. And it's like, I didn't really want that on my knife, but I like the knife. Yeah. So
broken skull. Yep. Greg Vincent, happy birthday. My birthday was on Monday. My birthday knife was the Cold Steel Mayhem number 265. Very nice. That's that new giant Cold Steel. So Zach, let's talk about the design and I'm on my iPad, low battery. Everyone have a great night. Andrew, have an awesome night. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Yep.
Let's talk about that extreme curve and how you see it in use.
So this knife, when you have this degree of curve, you can use it in a lot of like rocking cuts. Like if you're doing that kind of motion, imagine a flat table surface, or in reverse edge for tabletop cuts. That works really well as well for like draw cuts or rocking cuts, that sort of thing. But yeah, we've been doing some, bushcraft type casts. The spine is left at a hard 90-degree edge. It doesn't bite into the skin if you rest your thumb on it, but it's hard enough that you can like scrape bark and, to a degree you can do feather stick, like you can create fine strands of wood. For like fire starting, and of course, strike a ferro rod. And you can use the edge as well, but a hard spine really can save an edge for a long time. But yeah, a big curved blade like that, meat processing can do that. And yeah, it's also pointy. So at 3/16 thick on the spine thickness, it does have a single edge and a very stout tip. So it is pretty strong on the tip. And yeah, you can grip it in different ways. You got this Coke bottle grip here. So we did test this, with like water and oil. Like I even oiled my hands and like thrust this into a tree. We made an edgeless version so that I could like stab full force and, not worry about my hand riding up onto the edge. And yeah, it really did in my hand prevent grip slip because that handle fits into the base of your hand. It's well supported by the meat of your hand, whether you're using it in different grip orientations. We did a video post on our Instagram about that, but I need to include that in like a more in-depth video. But yeah, it was neat to do that sort of test. I didn't want to do the like sometimes they'll do tests like wearing cut-proof gloves, for safety. And it's like, well, that changes the texture, right?
Yes, right.
So it's like, that's why we went to the trouble of getting like an entire knife made just without the edge. And we'll put the edge on later, but it's like, you got to make sure, your grip and texture is, going to be really resistant against slippage. Because there is no guard on it. If you had a big guard coming off of it, it would be all kinds of jamming up into your whatevers, which wouldn't be fun. As is, it's very comfortable.
So I got a bunch of questions, but before we get there, hey Steve, two great guys right there, Bob and Zach. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
He is wicked with a blade. This guy, he's amazing. But before I have a bunch of questions to ask about the love handle, but LL Coil J was asking. He said, "Talk about that wrapped spike for a second," and I think you are the man to talk about this wrapped spike.
Yeah, so that is the quill. So my wife came up with this idea. Originally, the idea was to have something that was a wearable spike, even if you didn't have pockets. It was like originally like, hey, for women for self-defense, something they could like hang behind their ear, really discreet, that sort of thing. But we didn't never really ironed out the like jewelry aesthetics for marketing it to women, right? And we started like as we were messing with the prototypes, getting them hand forged out of just steel. They looked nice, they functioned well, and I kind of liked it a lot. So I'm like, you know what? I think we ought to just get this out the door, after it's refined, and we've got the quills out. These are like basically a curved diamond cross section spike. The edges of the diamonds are broken, so it doesn't come to a hard edge. You can grip it really hard in different ways, and like do a pinch grip and press the blunt tip of the spike into things for tearing, or use the corners to like scrape surfaces. You can use this in a grip like this for percussive pounding, and you can also grip it in the fist, like in different ways for self-defense or percussive, jabbing and poking. So it's a really lightweight tool. People come up with all different kinds of ways to use this. I say that spikes are like super fingers, like you use your finger, like your fingernail for scraping or poking, or your knuckles for pressing into things. And a well-made spike should be compact and strong and stout and versatile enough to be used like your fingers, only you're not, hurting yourself with your fingers. You're using this instead. And I've used this for all kinds of things, like even like Swiss Army knife that gets like a gummed up edge, because you're cutting a lot of like gummy tape type packages. I've even used this to hone the edge, mild. This is a 303 mild steel. So 303 mild steel is not a very hard steel, right? It's not hardenable steel, but that's one of the reasons we went so stout on the tip, right? So much material up front on that pyramidal tip. That's so it has strength when you're using it to pry, that sort of thing. And 303, because it's very rust resistant, that's one of the reasons we chose this tool. It is not an edge tool. We do not need, the properties for a good knife steel do not apply for a good spike steel. So in this case, for the quill 303, which would be a terrible knife steel, is a great spike steel for the, this particular spike, which is also forged, it's hand forged in Pennsylvania into that curved shape. It's like tapered out in both directions. So you have like a, differing cross-sectional thickness, but it's very light, and most people do not carry it behind the ear. Most just carry it in their pocket like I do. But, if I don't have pockets on, that's fine.
And in the pocket, it's totally comfortable. Like I've never had it stab into my leg or anything. I just drop it in the pocket, and I drop it point down, so when I reach in, I can just pull it out like that.
But it really pairs well with like a folding pocket knife, because you can't pry with those. You save your pocket knife for like slicing tasks. Like my main pocket knife I carry is this gift from Fred Perrin. He had modified an Open L, and I just love Open L's, the simplicity of it and just how slicey they are. And
Fred Perrin.
And Fred Perrin, that's like that's an honor to get a gift like that from him. And there are a lot of ways you can break an Open L if you're prying staples or other things. It's like, you'd be a little cautious on doing that, or trying to pop beer bottle tops off, that sort of thing. But a simple spike can really save your knife and pairs well with them. And I don't have a dick pick on me, but the quill or the dick pick are my go-tos for my carry on spikes, and those have been our two most popular items because they're small, they're compact, they're
And that,
a lot of people aren't into carrying a tomahawk, unfortunately. But,
and
small
they come
spike.
in a variety of sizes, both the dick pic and
Oh, yeah.
and just in case you're new to Wingard Wearables, the dick pic is actually a product. It's another spike. It's a pretty cool
Yes.
looking spike, which I do not own. I'm not sure why I still haven't.
Why didn't I
gotten
wear
that.
one today? I got
I
home,
don't know.
I took mine off. I put on my quill and my sweatpants, that sort of thing. No, you don't want Google dick pic. You want, if you Google
Yes,
dick pic,
no.
put it. It's DICKPICK, one word, and Wingard Wearables. Add that on the end, and you shouldn't get any. Like, it should all be dongless pictures, on image.
Dongless
search,
dick pics.
Yep.
Pat D's Nuts. Speaking of which, Pat D's Nuts. Good to have you here, Pat. Had the Shaman Rex 45 full tie and the Guardian 3 Olight I5T. Was wearing my beautiful Citizen Eco Drive Blue Angels World Chronograph. Beautiful. That sounds awesome. All right, so we're talking about your knife. You just had it in hand. It is the Wingard Wearables Love Handle. Now, this is made by
Tate Buzzard at the Norman Tactical.
Norman Tactical.
We're collaborating on that. So this is the steel is from New Jersey Steel Baron. I get these water jet cut in Ronks, PA, and I provide him the blanks and the material for the scales. And he, makes the knife, the sheath. I put in the hand file work at the end, for these grooves that are in there. Let me see if that comes through.
Well, what is that material? What is the handle material?
That is black paper micarta with 1/4 inch black paper micarta pins. So there are 2 pins on the scales. It looks like, for an exotic design like this, we didn't want to go with a material that was also exotic. We
looks
wanted
like
to
buffalo
go with,
horn.
Yeah, exactly. Black paper micarta looks handsome. Kydex micarta for the handle scales, 80 CRV2 for the steel. Like, if we're going to do our first knife, collaboration with Tate, we didn't want to go with like an exotic material. We wanted something that we knew it was going to be tough steel. We knew it would be a good performer. Like, yes, there are some super steels that this design could get applied to later, but for now, like, just see how the design performs in 80 CRV2. In testing, it's been very promising. We'll see what the appeal is on the market, because it is a very large knife, and the trend is not for big knives.
Well, what is the length of the blade?
The blade is 7 inches, and the overall length is about
the general
11.
length of a K-bar.
But about an inch shorter, and it is lighter. It's not a, let's see, I think K-bars are around 14 ounces in the sheath, maybe. And I'm trying to remember what this was. I should have weighed this right before I came on. I think this is like 10 to 12 ounces in the sheath. So it's, about an inch shorter and a couple ounces light.
It's very exotic. It reminds me of, I have a couple of Jambaya and I mean, it's vaguely, it looks sort of Indian, looks sort of Middle Eastern. It has that vibe. And maybe also with your beard and short hair on your head, it sort of lends to the image. It's very,
maybe so.
It's very cool. And when you hold it in, let's see, I have here's one. This is a Dirk Pinkerton curved double edge. But when you hold it the way you've been holding it in reverse grip with the to me, that looks so wicked. I mean, because I think of Pikal like that grip oftentimes with the curve going that way for that sort of tearing claw action. But that there is also, it's like a flensing cut.
I kind of, one of the things we did is, we got like, I forget if it was a butternut squash or a large vegetable, right?
Head-like thing.
And I just went, downward ice pick, biomechanic style in the slash. And it was like, it wasn't even there. It was incredible. But yeah, one of the cool advantages of having it curved, you get more knife in a comfortable ergonomic package. But one of the unique things is you can go from I'm space constrained here. Yeah, thank you, Jim. All right, he's zoomed the image here. So I got the tip over here, and then with very minor motion change in my wrist angle and rolling it over, I got the edge way over here. So it just takes very little motion to move that tip very far for this style of curved trailing point knife. And so in combatives, you've got, point forward, edge up. That's like, let me show you a knife like from, this is a World War II Navy combat knife that was in my family from a veteran in my family. Veterans Day is tomorrow, right? Yeah. But this was the knife he carried. My grandfather was taught that with these knives, in World War II, they were taught, point forward, edge up. You heaved ho and you ripped up. That was the sort of traditional style of fighting for these style of big-bellied Bowie style knives. And this love handle really does go well with that. And that grip, really well supported, that Coke bottle grip, you've got just a lot of length, thrust forward, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's kind of interesting, the idea of being able to move that tip really quickly, covering a big distance for more confined space techniques, slashing or curved around thrust, that sort of thing. So it's really interesting. So hopefully this will be a hit. We'll see. Tomorrow we're going to launch it. So this is a TheKnifeJunkie exclusive. We've got the first batch made, and the love handles are coming out tomorrow.
What?
So yeah, you guys got the exclusive. They aren't out right now because I gotta make the the site website pictures and storefront, but they're coming out tomorrow. So if y'all are on the mailing list, you'll get first notice on the drop. But yeah, just go on Wingard Wearables. Hopefully by early tomorrow afternoon they'll be up. And we're going for maybe, I think, 2 dozen in this first batch, and we'll just see where it goes. But yeah, Tate has been great. He makes a lot of very cool exotic knives.
He does make some cool knives.
And he and I have been working on this for well over a year. You'd think for such a simple looking knife, like, hey, why wouldn't you get it out there so fast? Well, we both work day jobs, and there were all kinds of sort of scaling up production. Even though it's small scale production, you still want to do things more efficiently in batches. He and I need to do some sort of like YouTube thing because it was quite a saga. It was like all kinds of stuff would happen. We had knife blanks, like breaking and entering in cars, thieves stealing knife blanks. We had like,
oh my God,
fires and automobile accidents, everything you could think of that just like, it was almost kind of like, gosh, when are we going to launch these things? Just things just kept coming up, but finally it's going to happen tomorrow. So really excited.
Let's talk about the design for a sec. Bob, the word Bob used was flensing, which is cutting blubber off of whales. Yeah.
I have learned a new word. I did not know that. Flensing.
Well, I learned that from Forged in Fire because they had a flensing, or maybe I learned it from reading Moby Dick, and I say reading in air quotes because it was read to me. It was a book on tape.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I heard that was quite a slog to read. So
yeah, but amazing to have read to you. So
okay, I should check that out.
Great book. Just imagine someone pulling that out of their pants. No kidding. What I was going to say,
you could experience it yourself tomorrow. You can buy one, and a couple of days later it'll arrive. You feel very powerful. I'll tell you that.
What? I don't know if you want to say it here, but what are they going to cost?
Under 300 for sure. I think it's 290 or 295. I forget which. So it's one of those, and that's going to include the sheath with 2 discrete carry concept clips.
Nice.
The knife and U.S. shipping. Now I do not know because I have customers in England and Australia. and other places that I have never shipped a knife to. I do not know about what we're going to do on shipping to that area, but for now, $290, $295 shipped to America. I'm not concerned about that, or shipping to Canada. I don't know about what it is like to ship a knife that looks frightening to England, so I don't know how that's going to go.
I shipped 3 of these to Europe. 1 to France, 1 to Switzerland, and 1 to Austria. So
Successfully.
Successfully, yes.
Yeah.
Mine though is maybe not as big and
So
horror show as yours.
You
But
could get creative on the dick pic. We call it a bartending tool. We don't say dick pic,
that's good.
right?
Yes.
They're going to be like, "What is this?" You know,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, how is it so
Importing
much?
your
You know,
filth.
why is there $80 for your dick pic or whatever?
Yeah.
It's like,
right.
or 80 pounds or whatever it is. You know. So in the Empress, I think we called that like a swimmer's rock pick, specialty tool, swimmer's rock pick or something, you know. But it's like, what can I call this thing? Like a pizza knife? I don't know. It cuts pizza really well. I rocking cut pizza just fine. So if anyone's got suggestions here, you know, if you were a British, what do you call it? The import guys. Not tariff. What's the customs? Yeah. So this thing comes through customs. You see it in the X-ray. You know, I need your thoughts. Let's wire the brains of the Knife Junkie Thursday Night Live. Like, what do I call this thing to plausibly claim it to be something that is a common lawful purpose? You know.
Kevin Moore says, I have my Quill XL and my Stingray, nothing but quality.
Thank you, Kevin.
You could that could be
herb cutting knife. I like that.
Oh yeah, like an Ulu says, chain smoker and knives. Good to see you here, sir. Herb cutting knife is good. I was thinking something like elephant bris knife or something, you know, like upswept stiff fillet. Perfect. It's for fishing. There's lots of fishing in Great Britain, isn't there?
Yeah. People fish and chips is like a thing, right? That's the thing I order when I go to
you're
an
so
Irish
culturally
pub.
insensitive. It's not just about fried fish.
I'm culturally enriched, right? I go to the American Irish pub and it's fish and chips and a Guinness, you know.
Yeah, so. And you could be cutting that with your
clearly, yeah. I could just slice through those. You know, they're really battered, like sealed. They're like super hot in there. I love
it. Extra batter. So I want to talk a little bit about the design inspiration for that, because you pulled out that K-bar looking knife. Mm-hmm. You would not expect that to be an inspiration for this. What else? What other knives were you looking at when you came up with this?
So there is a political cartoon from the war in 1812 where they had it was an American political cartoon, unwoke, whatever. They showed 2 Native American warriors basically selling scalps from patriot dead to the British. It was the war propaganda claimed that the British were buying scalps. And one of the depictions of the warrior had a knife that was very curved, just very similar to this. It had a different handle. And the depictions of Native American warriors with their scalping knives sometimes had this amount of curve in it. Yet every archaeological example of the scalping knife in like collections and museums, they look an awful lot like kitchen knives. Like they are curved on the belly, but the spine is straight. So that was sort of like seeing that. It was sort of an inspiration on like, you know, I wonder if we made a knife that curved, if that could like help us follow the contour of the body so that you could carry like appendix carry, like horizontally.
Yeah.
You know, a much longer, larger knife than what's currently on the market. And so that's where that came from, was it was an artist inaccurate depiction of a scalping knife even though, since we started making it, people were like saying, yeah, like it looks like something from India. And
Oh yeah.
Bob, I mean, you mentioned a couple of knives that you thought that this looked very similar to. And I think a couple of people mentioned the Sykes Cobra knife, I think is what it was called. Sykes Fairbairn had a curved knife with a really big handle. This was after the Commando dagger came out. This is after World War II. They tried to market a curved knife, but that was actually sharpened on this
the inside.
edge. And it may have been double edged too, but it was a big knife and it wasn't meant to be carried that way. And it did not take off. It was like sort of after World War II. World War II, they made so many of these knives, like millions of K-bar knives that, and this was the same thing with pistols and helmets, right? There were so many World War II American helmets and M1911s made that they just kept using them through Vietnam. Like they just, militaries were like, why would we bother fielding an even more optimized fighting knife when we had piles and piles of them from World War II? You're just going to keep using them.
No one fights with them anyway,
Yeah. So somebody coming up with like, hey, here's our new latest fighting knife. They're like, sure. So the Sykes Fairbairn Cobra knife, I don't think that ever went anywhere. But
I'm gonna have to
look it up. It's a weird looking knife. This is not a typical knife either. But yeah, we went really short on the handle too, because you wanted less printing and that sort of thing and comfort. Like, so I'm going to stand up here. I'm wearing gray sweatpants, so watch out. But there is the handle, right? And so if it was longer, if it was as long as a K-bar knife handle, which is like huge, that's like another inch on this, then the two things would happen. One, it would poke out and print more and be less concealable. And it would also poke into your hip and suck when you're bending, right?
Yeah.
And two, it wouldn't bottom out in the palm of your hand like this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so this is the key to being able to thrust into things. And if your grip is really strong, then the Coke ball shape is firmly supported by the meat of your hand, you should not have grip slip. All right. The strength of your grip and what you're stabbing into, your results may vary, but with my testing, it worked out well. But if it was a longer handle, it's going to protrude out and you are going to have a greater chance of sliding up. So that's one of the other reasons why the handle, the grip is shorter, and it's also curved here so that it fits. Let's see, camera left, camera right. So that bottoms out in the palm of your hand is very well supported. No matter what grip you take, reverse edge or hammer grip or sort of this forward thrust grip, that's the intent behind that short handle design. And really, when you go into museums and things and look at a lot of, battle-proven fighting knives used in, medieval Europe or in many other countries, the knife grips were pretty short. And it wasn't because like people were smaller back then, right? I've heard people say that before about things. No, I don't think that they had little midget hands back then. I think it's just because, they knew that you could lock your hand in better in some styles of knife fighting with a shorter grip than a longer grip.
It's like this little scalper. This is a mini scalper. It's a scalper style that I just bought in Texas at the Texas Custom Knife Show.
That looks really cool.
Yeah, I love this little thing. It's a 16th
very slicey looking. Yeah.
And it's got what is it? It's African paddock. But yeah, the handle. First of all, great sheet. This is by 310 Forge. Really awesome guy. I spent a good amount of time talking with him. He makes these exquisite buoys. Sorry, trying to say buoy. Exquisite buoy knives. But he makes these little scalpers, and the way the handle buries in the hand is perfect, kind of like what you were just saying. And I carry this. I've carried this kind of right up front and in reverse. So you pull it out like this. And if you need to turn it around, you just turn it around and use it. But great little knife. And I love that sort of scalper style. But what I really love is paying attention to the handle, because I do wear, I do carry a fixed blade knife in appendix. And all the time. The spleen splitter.
Yeah, I don't think European customs agents are going to go for that one.
Yeah, it's for black market
organ
organ
it's
harvesting.
for organ harvesting. Yeah.
But right up front, the handles do have to be rounded. They can't be too big, or else you won't carry it. Here on this one, this just so happens to, if I'm more, in a more corpulent way, that curve of that handle, just sort of outline, nestles right up next to my belly, and that's what it kind of looks like you're doing with this.
It's a smiley face, and these are nipples, and that's the nose, and big old grin. So there you go. It just fits in the undercarriage.
It rides below the waistband.
Now there are
really
other
cool.
ways you can carry it. It's just that is the most comfortable for what it's designed for. And I mean, you can with the discrete carry concept clips it comes with. You can move that hardware around. So if you want to slide this inside the waistband, like on your hip, sticking up, you can do that. I've even rigged it up with paracord dangling under my arm.
That's what I was going to ask you.
I won't advocate that, because you have to really be careful on making sure that when you lock it into the Kydex sheath, that it's really locked, because right, it's fighting against gravity. Now, it isn't as bad as a straight bladed knife that's loose in its sheath and dangling, right? Because you have this curvature, it is in contact more with the sheath. But just in general, I don't like the idea of carrying your knife upside down. Like, I know, sometimes they showed like Vietnam vets would have it like here, that sort of thing. And it's like, man, only one little point of failure.
Yeah.
Whoop, it's like, so even though it can theoretically work, I would not advocate it. Like, I rolled with it that way. And I just thought, like, man, if a customer made one mistake, like, ooh. So anyway, that's just me being, my business. I want to be careful, don't be stabbing trees and that sort of thing with it.
Totally. And if you have if you have something riding upside down, you better be so sure it's not going to come out, even with shaking and rattling.
Oh yeah. Or like, what if you were on a motorcycle getting a wreck? Where's that thing going to go?
God. Yeah. You mentioned the Cobra knife and how it was sharpened on the inside. I want to show a knife that I got that I've always wanted this, and I knew that they were limited, and it just so happened that bidding on this and winning it in an auction went to a wonderful charity called the Red Wings Foundation. It's a veterans charity. So everyone won, but look at this thing.
Oh man.
So this is the Doug Markida Cortada. And it is like a roughly K-bar size, maybe a little bit larger version of a Gununting.
It looks a little bit like the Cobra in a way. So look up the Cobra, but I mean, that is fancier, than the Cobra, but
right.
No, that would do it. And so the only reason I had people ask about, like, hey, could you do, a double edge? And
I think I was one of those people.
Yeah, you had asked about, but some others had, or could you make the edge the other way? And we might be able to figure out. But one of the concerns with that is when you draw it, drawing it like that. So I mean, if you were in an adrenaline situation, drawing it like you don't want that edge facing you,
Yes.
So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is just more tip strength, right? If you don't have a false edge or a double edge going to it, you got a lot more tip strength. That's just how it goes.
So that's something I think about all the time, because with the way I carry edge up, with the way I carry an appendix, the edge is generally up, and I don't have to worry about it right now, but after the holidays, it got a little bit more hanging over the belt. You got to be careful when you're drawing that knife.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the other thing. I mean, it's just, you look at the statistics. Most people have more weight than they should, myself included. I got to lose. When I talked to you last, I think I said I had to lose 40 pounds. I now have to lose 30 pounds.
Oh, right.
Progress,
that is
right?
good.
But I'm very far from my goal of topless Northman Tomahawk footage. It's got a ways to go. I'm a little self-conscious, so that's why I'm wearing this shirt here, because the t-shirt I was printing too much. But anyway. Most Americans, and actually many people around the world, got more on them than they want, and that's where curves. It doesn't matter how small or large the curve is. If the tool is curved, it can accommodate to a lot of different curves. That's what we found with like our Tomahawks. With this, another tool that I should show, the Micro-pike, which we are going to bring out next year. Micro-pike's coming back, but
cool.
Curves are just so important when your length of the tool gets beyond what the body can accommodate. And again, it gets like the hip, like this region here. That's why you gotta have that curvature on the back ripper, because once you get beyond 5-6 inches, that short width of the hip, well, it just starts to print more. But in the front, it's about 8 inches, and then once you get beyond that, it's just printing like crazy. It's poking into you. So yeah, we'll see what the appetite is for. We were talking about weight, issues, but appetite for a big curved knife. Hopefully so.
Nomadic Adventure says
there. Yeah. Oh, thank you for the suggestion. Yes,
stomach parasites will slim you right up.
Tapeworm pills, right? Isn't that what they used to sell? Or what's it? Is it
really?
Ozempic?
Oh,
is that the thing? That's the thing now. But yeah, there used to be. Maybe this is urban legend, but they used to sell diet pills that were just like tapeworm eggs or something horrible.
Gross.
Yeah.
Craig Vincent says, for shipping purposes, call it the realistic ancestral primeval tool reproduction. Raptor R.
I don't know if a French customs agent is going to want to read all that. That's a good suggestion. So I guess more suggestions, please, because I got customers in England, and they didn't have a problem getting the Tomahawks or war clubs or spikes. And I have a feeling that knives will be
touchy about knives over there.
Yeah, and knives and swords. And I was, even messaged, kind of a big YouTube channel, Scala Gladiatoria. That guy,
I love that.
Yeah,
guy.
He's had problems, because he deals in swords, right?
Yeah.
But he said axes, no issues, none at all. Like they don't give a crap about axes, and I haven't seen any problems. We haven't had a single one sent back. But I'm thinking the knife is gonna be tricky.
Yeah, that might just be the thing that sets off a little bit of sensitivity there, Northern Knives says, when we ship to Europe, we just put kitchen tool on the customs declaration. Oh, that's awesome.
Does that work every time? Yeah.
I do men's shaving tool or men's shaving kit.
The big old knife.
I didn't say it was very good at shaving, but
no. Kitchen tool.
Yeah.
That's like, I've heard things where it's like to save money on the customs import taxes.
Every time it works.
Yeah, they'll just say it's like metal and wood or something. It's like they describe the elements of what the tool is instead of what it is.
Carbon and hydrogen. Craig Vincent says, okay, just call it the curly metal stick. The curly flat-edged. I got to say, it's very exciting. It's a beautiful, beautiful knife. It's dropping.
And this is freehand ground. So, I mean, and also, profiled and, I do the hand file little grooves there too. So, it's on here. I got to sip some more water. So it's what your aesthetic is. Oh, keep going.
I was going to say, as you do, people should look up the Norman Tactical. His stuff is cool. He does a lot of sort of ethnographic knives that he makes. Like he's got a bunch of ski and do like versions of the Scottish sock knife. A lot of he was doing Chris's, I think, recently, like wavy bladed knives, and he just does some cool stuff.
Next time I'm on this, I'm gonna bring my. I bought a couple of things from him. He made a knife that was like a scaled down khopesh, like the Egyptian sword. It was really whack. It was like
That's
wild.
cool.
I just had to have it.
Extortion tool.
Yeah, so I mean, he's very creative and he's been great to work with. Very hard worker. So I mean, when you're buying the love handle, you know, you're supporting our business, but you're also supporting a fellow knife maker, small maker in Arizona.
Northern Knives wants to know: do you do your own kydex? Yeah, that's. So, I'm sorry. Before you answer that, that's the case with all of your products. You're supporting craftsmen local to you, and also, but all United States craftsmen.
Absolutely. For this one in particular, Tate is making the sheaths, but for the rest of our products, I do all the kydex work, like on the dick picks and the Tomahawks. Sorry, I'm losing a little voice here. I gotta sip some more.
You were going through quite a voyage with the making of the Dick Pick Magnum sheath. That was quite an effort. Craig Vincent says, "I don't care what it ends up being called. I just want one." I know. I live in the good old U.S. of A. That's right.
So no customs imports there. So.
Would you say that the Magnum Dick Pick sheaths, you kind of got that down, and that's how you make them now?
So on those, I guess the feedback we've gotten so far has been overwhelmingly positive. I would probably say we need to strengthen the belt loop section. Like we had a guy, one of our customers is like up in trees removing limbs up in the Northeast, like big trees. And so he was using his Dick Pick Magnum in that. And he said, yeah, it's great. But what happened was eventually, because, he's swinging his whole body weight on it and he was wearing it outside the waistband, like eventually there's like wear and tear that can develop on the belt loop. And it's probably the case with any nylon belt loop. But I think that's something that if we were to look at it, we'd figure out a way to either strengthen that a little bit more. Like for civilian applications, that's not going to be an issue. And it can be carried inside the waistband without the belt loop. So, but I think we got like the materials dialed in, the process dialed in. I just want to see if we can like reinforce the belt loop a little bit more for those more, rigorous environments with customers, dangling off of trees. In that case, that's pretty extreme. I would be terrified because I'm afraid of heights.
But you got the rigidity part of it down, and that's the most important part, because if that guy does fall out of the tree and he's not
getting impaled. Well, he's gonna, given how high up he was, he'd have other problems. But the Dick Pick Magnum impaling him would not be the problem.
Yeah. It would be that sudden stop.
Yeah, I could not do the tree work. Now there is a knife maker, Paul Shroud. I think he does tree trimming. He does those friction folders and folding knives. I don't know if you ever had him on your show.
No, what's his name? Paul Shroud?
Yeah, PS Knives.
PS Knives sounds familiar, but
he does a really unique titanium friction folders. Those are really cool.
So I got something to show you.
Look at this thing.
I'm trying to ignore it. So this is from Bravehawk Forge, and it's so this is a guy, Jake Sewell. He was on the show recently, and he's one of the main organizers of the Texas Custom Knife Show, and he makes these tomahawks for throwing. They had a whole throwing section and everything, and unfortunately, I somehow managed to spend the whole weekend there without throwing a single tomahawk because I was doing all this other stuff. But I was watching, I'd stop by and watch, and they had a whole bunch of these and a couple of, well, not this model in particular, but a couple of his other models in buckets and, throwing them and everything. And it's forged mild steel. And then, you got your hardened steel here, and it's got that, profile of the handle that I really like. It's like teardropped,
Oh
so
yeah.
it's not gonna turn in the hand at all.
Yeah,
And then
good
it's got
edge direct. You feel where the edge is instantly.
yes,
Yeah.
right, exactly. There's like definitely a ridge or a seam that goes up the haft here, and really allows you to feel it. It's got a very sharp blade, and definitely meant for throwing. Though I probably am not going to throw this either. But it has instead of hanging the head on the haft the way you do it, where it comes on the top and is wedged and stops here due to the thickness. This is one of the ones that slides up here.
Yep.
And I saw the benefit of this when you have a bunch and you're throwing them.
Yeah, you break the handles all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw them just
Absolutely.
like pop new ones in there,
Oh yeah.
or like just hammer it once on top, tighten it up, throw it. And that was cool. That was a very interesting, because I kind of well, let's just say kind of got a little snobby about it after our first interview, and you showed me how you hang the back ripper, with the cross wedge. You're like, yeah, I know, I do it.
Yeah.
And then how you with the grooves and everything, like, and I thought, like, that's the only way. But for that kind of throwing and stuff, this actually really does make sense. So it was a cool kind of revelation. I think I got a little more of an understanding of what you were talking about.
Yeah, that's definitely the fast way to hang an axe head. And when you're going through handles, especially if you're throwing multiple tomahawks, like your probability of striking another handle is very high. So absolutely easier to swap out handles for sure. So
yeah,
but that's not how we do ours yet. So maybe a future design down the road we'll do taper drop to the top. I think one time I've been here on your show on Thursday Night Live, we talked about a smokable tomahawk design, and that is still in the works, the lung ripper. But we got like two different design directions we're looking at. One of them's having a plain pole with a smokable handle, like no pipe bowl in it, but like an axe blade, and then the pipe is the handle, so you got the pipe bowl at the top. The other we're thinking of doing is a spike tomahawk with a sidecar pipe bowl, but it won't be pipe bowl forged to axe head. That's been done. We got to do our Wingard Wearables take on it. We got a few sketches, that we have, and if I have a productive enough weekend, I'll get them, modeled up in a CAD CAM program so I can get them 3D printed.
This is like, okay, so when I was down in Texas, there were a lot of young men smoking pipes. I thought that was cool, first of all, because when I was a kid, my dad smoked a pipe. But it doesn't seem like my generation really took to it. But I saw, younger men,
Gen Z,
pipes.
Is that it?
Yeah, Gen Z, but Gen Z, like Texas knife maker cowboy types, not so much
like Gen
whining
Z,
purple hair.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but very cool. I was like, I like that. Like, very, I don't know.
Maybe the lung ripper is going to be good timing, but
this is what I'm getting at. There are plenty of people now who are smoking pipes. There's plenty of people who smoke other kind of stuff in pipes and do it on the go. So why not have that?
Well,
that
we
aren't
setup. We aren't going to do a crack pipe one, but if people are into cannabis or tobacco, I don't smoke anything. But we will.
Glass doesn't make the best handle for a tomahawk.
or glass for the impact. I don't know. So that we aren't going to do a crack pipe tomahawk. It's be a little low on our business reputation. So
I think that's probably a good thing to stay away from. Definitely.
Yeah. So I guess go ahead.
No, you were going to say something.
I had a question. I'm trying to remember if I've asked it before on Thursday Night Knives. So I've read some accounts where people had knives in their teeth, They grab it.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. And you know what? It's funny you should mention that, because I have a very, in my mind, I have a very particular way. Okay, when I was a kid, that's what pirates did. They definitely did that when they were like swimming or trying to get on a boat or
Climbing.
something.
Yeah.
Climbing. But to me, it's got to aesthetically be right. It's got to be a knife at least this long. And this would be so hard to hold in your teeth, 'cause it's heavy, it's metal, it's slick. So this is something I actually think about.
I figured the crowd here would think about too. Like, what are legitimate reasons to put a knife held in your teeth? Because I've seen depictions of British commandos with the FS dagger in their teeth while they're crawling on the ground before they jump a German and stab them. But like, I've held an FS dagger from like the period, and they aren't actually sharp. So it's like, okay, so do you only bite dull knives? But then you have these like depictions of like scalping, where the guy's got, he's doing the job, and he needs like 3 hands, I guess, or 4 hands. He's got, and sometimes they have the knife in the teeth. So that's not very sanitary, but this is like the 18th century, and you're carrying off someone's scalp. Like, that guy didn't shampoo that day, it's like nasty. But like, and I've even read accounts of like doctors amputating, and just like for braggadocio purposes, they're like, hey, time this. I can get this guy's leg off faster than you. And he's like swapping between things. And I'm like, why would you put that in your mouth? So I'm trying to think of like practical reasons why anyone would do that.
Well, that is one. I mean, you just named one. Even though, you're bringing your own priors to this conversation, you wouldn't do that.
Well, yeah, those are the 3 things I read about historically. And then I just started thinking, like, why would today, would it ever make sense? And I was talking to a coworker, and he sometimes did it. Like, he would as he's doing things like tying rope or something, he would put it in his teeth. And I started to think about it, because when the COVID mandates happened and you had the mask on all the time, if you were actually at a place where they were enforcing it, I found I couldn't hold my car keys in my teeth. I'd often do that, So I do use my teeth for like gripping things, but not a blade. So I'm just asking Knife Junkie crowd here, who puts their knife in their teeth as a holding method, and when do you do it? Or if you don't, when do you think you would do it?
It's definitely a swashbuckler's move. Northern Knives says, I also own a cigar store, and you would be amazed at the increased interest in pipes and pipe tobacco over the last several years. Definitely something that surprised me. This is funny because I went to the place where I get cigars, and I asked if they had the same pipe tobacco that my dad used to smoke, called Balkan Sobrany, I remember. And it was, oh my God, it smelled like oolong souchong tea. Is that what it's called? That Chinese tea. It had this amazing odor, and the guy was like, oh my God, that stuff. Like, and I remember when I was in college, as early as the late 80s, or as recently as the late 80s, I got tins of that particular tobacco. Now, if you can get it, it's like very, 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 very expensive, because it's a Balkan tobacco, and I guess they don't make it anymore. And
you mean it's antique tobacco? It's old, or it's made in tiny batches? Or
it was made in the Balkans somewhere. I'm not sure where, and it's just not exported here, or imported or something. But that was my dad's pipe tobacco, and he only smoked every couple of weeks on Sunday.
Well, maybe the lung ripper's time has come. If people are smoking more, I think this could be it.
I think that's what Northern Knives is getting at. I think he's got a cigar shop. You never know. A lung ripper hanging on the wall might. And he's up in Alaska, where there's probably respect for a tomahawk.
I would think so, especially one you could smoke, tobacco out of, or cannabis. Not both. I hear you can't just have one pipe that does both. There's like residues and stuff, and you have different combustion requirements. I don't know. I don't
know about that, but yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that sounds like it makes sense to me.
So I got to do more research on that without smoking any of these substances, of course. Well, maybe tobacco, but not smoking.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that would
not judging. I'm just not going to.
Yeah, 100% interested, says Northern Knives. Well, this is interesting.
So has anyone answered the knife in the teeth thing, or is it just
knife in the teeth? Anyone? I mean, like, does blade to handle ratio matter to you when it comes to the aesthetic of it?
The aesthetics, I don't want to look at myself with doing it that at all. But I mean, with this, I'm not going to do it on camera. But that would be a mighty knife to clamp. Yeah.
And if you bite it closer to the handle, it makes sense. But if you can't do it with a knife like this,
or a Swiss Army knife, that would be weird. I mean, that's got a toothpick in it, But like to hold it by the little blade, like think a Swiss Army knife classic, it would look like a little toothpick.
Yeah, just jam it right in there.
So no one's got anything. No one
admits
that they. So Bob, you've never clamped onto a knife with your teeth?
Not in any serious use. Like I've said, I've tried to do it just to look cool. Fernando Salome says, "Not me, bad style." Fernando's
kind of dated. Yeah,
you can tell he's a stylish guy. Dated like pirate dated. Yeah. It's
we're scalping dated. I mean, that was pretty gross.
Yeah. Well, what would you want from a scalping knife? I mean, all you need is a bit of a curve, something you can pinch, something thin.
Well, I think you gotta go big because it's a scalping knife. I think if it was actually only for scalping, it would probably be something that would be like tiny, like something like a little ring, like thorn thing. It would be. I would go even tinier. Because I mean, that's the scalp, right? If you're actually going to optimize for it, it's just there's so little skin. I mean, you could have just a little nubbin thing that was like this long on like a thimble, and that would be your scalping knife. It wouldn't even be a box cutter, right? But if when I think of actual scalping knife, like they didn't use them for only scalping. I mean, they were using this for everything. And they had something that was big like this. It just had a flat spine. They were usually 6 to 7 inch blades, but they were butchering deer and fighting people with them. They weren't just using them purely for that. So
Craig Vincent says, I only carry this knife for cutting off people's scalps. Craig Vincent says, I used to puff 4 to 6 double coronal a day. I don't know what that means. Now I do 2 per month. Unless I'm fishing, all bets are off when I'm fishing. The stogie never goes cold. Okay, all right, I got you.
Cigars.
So you're talking about cigars, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I like a cigar now and again. I like calling them cigars. I don't know why. Northern Knife says, Craig Vincent, my man. Same with me while hunting. All cigar bets are off. Wait. When you're hunting, doesn't cigar, I know that keeps mosquitoes away, but doesn't that warn the animals?
You got to play the wind, if you're playing the wind, right? I'm not a hunter.
You're talking to
say wind.
Lifelong suburban. So I just don't know in terms of hunting. But someday I'd like to go hunting with someone. Someone take me hunting just so I can be on the hunt. And Coronas. Okay. And then have the dogs like hold down the pig, and then I will come up with one of my knives.
I need to go over that thing. That I think I told you about the pork sickle. Like we have that tomahawk. Yeah, the tomahawk we made for hog hunting. It was like this customer he was into doing the dogs on hogs style knife hunting, and he said, "Hey, can you make a tomahawk for it?" And at the time we had launched the business only a year in, and we were kind of like sales were slow. It was like, sure, we'll make your tomahawk. And he wanted a double-edged spike that was 9 inches long, and then an axe on the other side. He wanted it really big, and we wound up working with our neighbors And we made this thing. Our neighbors do lost wax investment casting. We had like a bronze boar head on the pommel,
Oh man,
lanyard, 19-inch charred black handle, huge spike tomahawk, and he wound up using it to kill a pig. It was crazy. But I wound up charging way too little for it, because by the time I counted like my time, blacksmith time, neighbor's time, it was like we had 40 to 60 hours into this thing.
whoa!
And I was like, $600, and the guy's like, yeah, sure. And then later he sends me a picture.
I'll take two.
Yeah, he sends me a picture of the pork sickle on a chartered plane he was taking to the hunt, and I was like, oh, I should have charged more. Like, I was a new businessman. I was like, I could have charged, I don't know how many times that, but I mean, if you're that loaded that you can go on your hog hunting trip with a chartered plane,
This
600
is a one-use Tama. I'm going to throw this from the helicopter and see if I can. Robert Strebin says, hey, Knife Junkies, how's everyone doing? Hey, Robert, good to have you here. I got here late, but I'm sure I've missed a lot. So you have. Let's show it off again.
Oh yeah, got the new curved knife from Wingard Wearables coming out, collaboration with Tate Buzzard of the Norman Tactical. This is called the Love Handle. But yeah, this will be coming out tomorrow. It's our first knife. We've been on the Knife Junkie how many times now? Is this our 5th time?
Oh yeah, at least. I mean,
and we haven't sold a single knife.
But plenty of tomahawks, dick pics, and quills.
Yeah, we've sold sharp things, but finally knives.
So just so you know, Robert, that knife is built to go in the waistband, right up front, kind of right below the belly, and comfortably
cut screen,
right? Yeah, right there, right up front. Probably if you're familiar with the show, you're familiar with Wingard Wearables and how the weapons all are made to fit the body. The weapon tools, because these aren't just weapons. They're most definitely, primarily at least, weapons. But I know that that's badass, says Robert. But I know people use these for pruning. This is a great pruning tool right here.
It is. Pizza cutter, and that may be why I call it a pizza knife. Yeah, maybe that's what gets it through European customs.
Yeah, I wouldn't even use the word knife.
Pizza cutter.
Steparateur. Pizza.
What was a whaling fleshing knife?
Pizza crest. Oh, flenser. Flensing knife.
Flensing.
A pizza flenser. They'll be like, I think I know what that. Yeah, just let it go.
Yeah, it's words. Sure.
Words.
Check.
Flensing. Oh, I should know what that flensing means.
That's a pretty good accent. I can't. My accents are terrible. I won't even do one. That's really good.
It sounds like a word we should all know.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, if you put a different nationality on it, like if I called it like a Finnish flensing knife or something, that might get it in. Pizza knife sounds better though.
I mean, you should flense daily after you brush.
Yeah, of course. I have plenty of blubber to flense off. I was going the slow way of weight loss, like the miserable way, eating less each day. Terrible.
Well, yeah, eat less and exercise a little more, and then it happens.
Yeah, supposedly. Blood loss is another thing. I donated blood like a month ago. They took 900 milliliters out of me. So I was used to like Red Cross. They take a pint out of you.
Yeah.
So you got like 100. You got to weigh 110 pounds or more to donate blood. It's like a height to entry on the ride. 110 pounds. Well, with military, and I donated at a military blood donation. It's a separate group from the Red Cross. They just take like sub 17% of your blood volume, because like they have some chart that's like if you lose 17% or more, then they got to put you on an IV trip. So I'm like reporting like, oh yeah, I weigh way more than 110 pounds, and they test your blood. It's like, oh, you're high in iron and you're fat. We'll just take cord out of you, which is almost what it was. It was like, what? They don't tell you that. You look down on the scale, it's like 900 milliliters. Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm feeling kind of faint, but I didn't faint.
But then they're like, here's your Lorna Doone cookie.
Yeah, like I just lost a quart like instantly, right? So
Yeah,
how
and
much
there's
does that weigh? That has to weigh like a couple of pounds, right? Because a pint is what, 16 ounces? Fluid ounces.
yeah, fluid
That's got to
ounces.
be close to 16 ounces of
I'm told
body weight.
those are different, but yeah,
I
I
probably
don't know.
lost 2 pounds like that, you know? So there you go. Weight loss tips from your favorite Tomahawk merchant, you know?
Yeah.
Just lose blood, you know?
Just lose. Well, yeah. Well, that would come from a tomahawk maker.
Yeah.
So, where do you get your main? So this tomahawk, this looks kind of like a northeastern woodland tomahawk, right? Vaguely, or
It looks kind of like a Francisco to me, or a style of the French
oh,
throwing
this is
axe.
yes. This is called a Francesca,
There you
or
go. Yeah.
that's the name of this model. You're right. Okay. All right.
You were
Okay.
asking me a
So,
question. What was the question you were on?
but the question is about inspiration for the tomahawks and where you know where.
I go on to museum collections, like Smithsonian has a huge, like the Museum of the American Indian. Like they
Oh yeah.
have probably dozens of tomahawk designs. You also got museum collections, that sort of thing. And I just like look at features and speculate on what sort of capabilities those designs may have had. And then I just start with a blank sheet of paper and I doodle. I should have had a pad of them, because one of the things, I haven't posted a whole lot or done much videos lately, because we were working on, I think, 9 different tomahawk designs. Like I was just like early October, like my brain was just in that creative state. And so I just started designing, and we're going to get into hammer pole tomahawks, because people have been asking us about that for years. Because like spike tomahawks are actually not in modern day that popular, because I think a lot of people are concerned about self-injury. There are a lot of designs of spike tomahawks that are more prone to it than that. Ours are, we mitigate against that. But hammer pole we've been asked about for years. So it's like, we came up with 3 or 4 different designs, and we aren't even sure if we're going to be doing all of those. Like, our business, we can't just roadmap. It takes about a year for us to get, product launch, that sort of thing. It's like, that's like 9 years worth of product launches and just 2 weeks of creative design sprint. You can't do that. So,
okay, let me ask you this: with a hammer pole tomahawk, you run the risk of making a hatchet.
So there were hammer pole tomahawks that were different from hatchets. They were lighter, and the hammer pole, and I'll show this with the pipe tomahawk. Imagine this pipe bowl as a hammer. The hammer was usually a very concentrated hammer face that extended out a lot further than a typical belt axe or hatchet. Like sometimes the hammer pole would stick out 2 to 3 inches.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You could actually hook with it, a lot of war hammers. Like, for instance, one of the things I did when I was looking up, thinking of hammer pole tomahawks, I researched a bunch of war hammers in museums that had the spec'd out dimensions, and the average war hammer pole projects 1.8 inches from the handle.
Wow.
I like surveyed like 30 something designs. This is how I nerd out into it. I enter in all the dimensions in Excel, and I get an average and the minimum and maximum, and I try to play off of that, where it's like, if I'm going to design something where it's a hammer pole and you might use that hammer as a percussive weapon, not just a tool, hey, you might as well base it off of battle proven examples. How do you like the one in the movie Prey? I like any movie that has I like any tomahawk that's in any movie. I did not like Prey the movie, but I'm not going to be like, oh, it violated the great franchise of the Predator movies, because Predator movie franchise, Predator 2 was not a good movie.
Yes,
Predator 3 and 4, like all of them were not great movies. They were just turn off your brain. You hoped to have fun. So that's my take on Prey. The tomahawk that she had, yeah, sure, I liked it.
Here's a question for you with the hammer pole, the surface. Now, you said if someone's going to use it, there, you know, a Warhammer has, unlike the cold steel Warhammer I was just holding up, Warhammer hammer pole surfaces are more like roofing hammers, where they have knurling or spikes or some sort of surface feature other than smooth that bites into the helmet and you know, transfers all of that energy.
It seems like none of the hammer pole Tomahawks I've seen in museums had that, because they weren't facing guys in armor. You know, it seemed like they were usually round faced and very, very narrow. Like we're talking, some of the hammer pole faces looked like as narrow as like my thumb. And there were even accounts of and evidence of the pipe bowl side being used to strike. Like there are museum collections where the pipe is bent, the bowl. Like if it was just a whole like brass construction with a steel edge, and the brass, you know,
all
got
gnarled
bent.
because someone.
And I mean, it could have also happened if you were practicing throwing and hit with a tree, you know, into a tree that way. But there was definitely examples of that. And I think Battle of the Wabash, that was biggest U.S. Army defeat in the history of the U.S. Army. You know, Native American force just demolished, you know, an American force. But, you know, when they were recovering the bodies, one of the things that was pointed out were there were these holes in the skull that were a lot bigger than musket ball holes. And someone pointed out and was like, yeah, that's because they use their pipe bowls to, you know. And so it's like, yeah, they definitely use them that way. But the hammer pole was very narrow. So we have like a few designs. I don't know how many we would pursue under Wingard Wearables. We are going to Blade Show next year.
Yes.
So I'm hoping, you know, to have prototypes on hand, you know, not on display at the table, but kind of under the table. And, you know, if there's like, you know, networking, you go to Blade Show to network. I don't know if anybody would come there and be like, hey, or do you have any designs you'd be interested in collaborating on? Well, we might have a couple, because you can't pursue everything. If you come up with 9 designs and your company is only putting out like 2 designs a year, you know, like you're not going to just be like, oh, I'll just wait 9 years till I deliver this design.
I mean, that's what partnerships and collaborations are for and all about. And finding people who have capacity, and you have the ideas, and
sometimes it can work out some that way, sometimes not.
Tomahawk with a spiked war hammer pole, like the RMJ Tactical Snuggles face, would be amazing. Yeah, that Snuggles is pretty cool. I do love a Warhammer. They're in Braveheart, you know, there's a whole portion where he has got the Warhammer, and there's a I mean, that movie is beyond reproach as far as I'm concerned. But there are some things you could point out, like in the slow motion. You can see his Warhammer going boing.
Hey, you know,
obviously rubber.
Yeah, it's got there's a lot of cutting and editing and that sort of thing. Yeah, that's tough.
But great movie, and real good use of the Warhammer at the start of that battle. I think that is the main battle at the end before he pulls out his big sword. And you know, those battle scenes in Braveheart are great, and a great part of it is also the audio. And there's a scene where, or a shot in that melee where he hits someone on the head with the helmet, and you hear it go bang, and then he flips it, and then he goes and, you know, jams the spike, and it's all in one quick shot. And I'm like, that is great, because you never see Warhammers depicted in those kind of battle scenes.
Yeah, you don't really, or Hollywood will usually show a ridiculously exaggerated Warhammer, right? That wouldn't exist. Something that's like this big. It's like
in Conan the Barbarian. Where
I'm trying to think if Braveheart might be one of the only movies I can think of that I've seen where a Warhammer was like the size of a Warhammer. They were like really compact, and you know, you see most of these weapons in museums, and if you're only used to seeing them on the big screen, they're pretty small and compact. Like soldiers like compact things that can get the job done, you know.
I have a you know, if you go to Home Depot, I always look at the hammers at Home Depot, and I love the big roofing hammers with the knurling, and I have one of those at my desk at work because I can't have, you know,
Yeah.
I got to be careful with it. But to me, like that would, you know,
That would
besides
do a job.
besides someone, you know, pointing a gun at me, if it were anything under that, yeah, I feel like with the training I got and with a roofing hammer, you know,
Yep.
and whatever else I have on me, uh, that could be a
I
real
think,
effective.
you know, you mentioned that my grandmother on my dad's side, she was 92 years old when she passed, but she kept a roofing hammer. What was it? By her bed or under her pillow? I'm trying to remember which.
Wow.
Because I mean, you know, when her husband passed, it's like, what's she
Yeah.
gonna have? But she was 92 years old, 4'11", probably didn't even weigh. Could not donate blood to the Red Cross, right?
Right.
Under 110 pounds,
But she could drop a roofing hammer on
yeah, but
someone's foot.
she just knew if she woke up to someone in her room like that she didn't think should be there, like, you know, if they weren't expecting her to hit them in the head with a hammer, they would be surprised. So it was. And that was way before Wingard Wearables. And I think, you know, when she passed, I got the roofing hammer. And it did have, I think it had a knurl on the hammer face, but it had a really thin, like square-like blade with a nail-pulling notch. I should show that on
and
social media or something.
And straighter, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Yeah.
It was really thin. I mean, it was meant for, you know, hammering in nails and cutting up shingles. Shingles aren't like weak things, but they aren't like wood, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a perfect example of you know, you were talking about the real size of a warhammer. Well, that's what that was. It was a tool. I mean, it was a tool for you know, opening up people with armor, but still, it was a tool, and it didn't need to be any bigger than you know, what was I just
need to be
watching?
concentrated.
You know, Conan Conan has that famously huge war hammer in the Conan the Barbarian, the bad guys, one of the Thulsa Doom guys. But I was just watching something. Troy. You know, Hollywood's rewrite of the Iliad, because Homer didn't quite do it well enough. But in any case, after they, you know, as they're sacking Troy, you can see some of the Greeks with war hammers, which they did not have, but whatever. Bronze Age, who can tell in the Bronze Age, right?
Yeah, Hollywood.
Because I guess Ajax was supposed to have some sort of hammer or something. But in any case, you see all these Greek soldiers running through Troy, like beating people up with war hammers, like big, giant, you know. I'm like, what the hell is that? That's like.
So one of the things that was kind of interesting, there was like, you'll probably know, because audience here knows many things. Like the Russians tried to colonize in Alaska, or they did colonize in Alaska. And there was a tribe there called I'm going to mispronounce it, the Tiglit tribe, I think. Mm-hmm. And they usually carried double-sided daggers. They'd have a small dagger on the pommel side and a big dagger. And it was very unique. I would recommend looking up like Tiglit daggers if you can, because it's like, it looks like unlike anything you've seen. They'd wear scary, like animal style helmets and stuff. But one of the guys that fought against the Russians, like a sort of war chief, he had a blacksmith hammer. He repurposed, and that was his head smashing tool. And so there's like artistic depictions of this guy, you know, not from the period, but I mean, he was known for having that, of this guy just wearing the craziest headgear you've seen. Because I think this tribe did a lot of the totem pole type things, like really unique, scary looking carvings. He's just dressed like really, you know, frightening. And he's just got this blacksmith hammer, which a blacksmith hammer, I mean, those things are, you know, easily 2 pound head weight. You don't want to get hit with that. But yeah.
Hey Jim, can you put up Can you put up Craig's? Craig Vincent says, my sister beat up a guy in our neighborhood with a Dr. Scholl's wooden clog. I remember my sister had those. I remember what those things looked like. You should make a tomahawk with a clog on one side. Clogs are deadly.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you have anyone here with is it the Vietnamese mothers who are known for throwing their sandals with great accuracy?
No.
So there are these very famous plaques that you see in the Philippines. I've never been there, but I've seen them brought back where they have all the different swords, and it's sort of like a tourist thing. But I recently saw something that was different kinds of sandals, the weapons of the Filipino mother. I thought that was so cool.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Enforce discipline.
Yes, indeed. So before we wrap here, you mentioned the Micro-pike coming back. Tell us all what the Micro-pike was and what it will be.
All right, so the Micro-pike was our take on how to get the speed and quickness of the draw of a short blade with the reach and lethality of a long blade. I'm going to try to not lose my voice here. I'm out of water. But we had on the original Micro-pike, a short leaf blade on a long streamlined handle of steel, one piece of hand-forged steel that was curved to conform to the curvature of your waistline from hip side all the way to the front where it straightened out. So you had like 8-9 inches of straight section with a leaf blade on the end with a grip that terminated into a hammer face. I should have brought one. You'll have to use your imagination. Just think like a curve, right? So we came out with those in, I think, 2019, sold the first batch, not quickly because it was a weird looking thing, right? Like I think tomahawks and knives, like I hope this knife will sell well, but I think those have stronger appeal because they're familiar to things we already know. And if you come out with something that's just completely out of left field, it has no visual familiarity, it doesn't get adopted as quickly. So there were some early adopters on the Micro-pike, but we've had enough people come back and say, hey, when's this thing coming back? That we're like, hey, let's bring it back. So I'm hoping in early 2024 to get a very small batch of our original Micro-pikes, like that style and design out. It'll probably be only 6 to 8 of them. It's sort of like using the material we have on hand. But later this upcoming year, we're hoping to have our Gen 2. And that one is going to look completely different. It'll still be a short blade on a long, curved, streamlined handle. It'll wear the same way, but it's going to look different. And we're going to go with, instead of a leaf blade, a single edge blade to have better utility cutting capability. Because when you have a blade that's like fairly narrow, like the Micro-pike blades were about 1 inch wide and they're double edged, like your bevel, leaf blade, it's in the center. Your bevel height is, it's not that conducive for cutting. So the Micro-pike, the Micro-pike did work in cutting and well, let me see this. Tigleet is pronounced Klinkit. See, I just read something. I have public education in Alabama and I have no idea how it's pronounced. But do look up those double-ended daggers used by the people whose name I cannot pronounce.
Klinkit.
Yes, it's very interesting. But yeah, Micro-pikes. There are things that we definitely wanted to change for that design, like that form factor, and it's probably a very deadly tool. I mean, when it's out, you get both hands on it. You can just battering ram.
Yeah.
Like none of the knife self-defense, like deflection and block stuff will work. We've had it in hands of guys that do a lot of knife combative training, like in Filipino martial arts. And when they got it in their hands, they were instructors in these things. They were like, wow, this thing is deadly.
Wicked.
When you get two hands on it. So
the whole idea of making a pike is cool. A spear, just a little.
Yeah, that you can wear on you. Yeah, and it was like
EDC spear.
I think it was like 15, 16 inches of steel, but because it was curved, you could wear it on your person comfortably concealed. I've had people tell me they had them that own several of our items, that is the most comfortable item for them to carry. And they like carrying our other items. It really does just, you feel like it isn't even there because all that rigid steel is just following you,
Yeah.
So we'll see if it comes back in small quantities. If it sells, we'll make more, but it's like right now, it just seems to be bought by the early adopters. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So we'll see if it broadens an appeal. I need a movie to feature it. That's what I need.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what movie it is because I haven't seen a
Transformers.
good movie. Yeah, Transformers. Are they still making those? I don't know. I haven't seen a good movie that was made recently in a long time. But we definitely need Micro-pike in there.
Craig Vincent says, I love the concept, but not the name because my ex-wife used to call me Micro-pike. That's funny.
Well, at least she didn't call you a micro dick pic. That would have been worse, right? Don't Google that. But anyway,
all right.
Micro-pike. Yeah.
Before we wrap up here, let's show it off one more time. This is dropping tomorrow. This is becoming available. And
the
you have
handle.
A limited run of how many?
Well, we're not limiting the run. The first batch that's coming out is probably going to be 24. So you got a Coke bottle shaped grip. But I mean, there's definitely more that will be made. It's just cool. My shoulder can only do so much hand filing these things. Yeah. With all the other things I'm doing, I've taken my Advils, but yeah, when you're just hand filing, with triangular file, each one of those, we didn't want to do power tools because it kicks up dust. And it's also, when you plant a power tool like a Dremel tool down, it's really wants to skip and move, and it makes the work sloppy. Yeah. So we tried Dremeling, and it was like, wow, that's just ruining these
There's
things.
A lot
I'm not saying this is like brilliant file work here. It isn't, right? It's cleaner
you don't risk the machine shatter from.
Yeah, you have so much more controllability with a hand file. These are just triangular file. I oil them so there's no dust kicked up, and it's just
beautiful choice with it's paper micarta,
black paper micarta, not linen. But
great looking blade.
Thank
you.
It looks great.
That paper's going to give you that sort of ancient look. That
buffalo. That's what we're wanting for that first look. Is go with a proven material on the blade and the handle and the sheath, and see where it goes. Right? Who knows if these sell, we could come out with an AEBL version. Right? More rust resistance. Right? Yeah. Or different handle materials. Could come out with a double edge. Don't know. Gotta see.
Well, Zach, thank you, man. Thanks for coming on and giving us this exclusive. I think that's
always
awesome.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone who had suggestions. Especially on like how we get this sent through customs in Great Britain.
Oh yeah.
Everyone have a great evening, and check us out. WingardWearables.com. Love handle is launching tomorrow.
And get on the email list. I get your emails whenever they come out, and I love just checking in and seeing what you got. Gus Beck says, I want one of those cool pokey pry tools you showed earlier. Looks useful.
Those are available. Quills. Yep. Check them out.
The quills.
All right, you guys have a great evening. Thank you so much, Bob, and be edgy.
My pleasure. Take care, man. All righty. Well, that about does it for this edition of Thursday Night Knives. Thank you so much for watching. To those who showed up last week and I was not here, sorry that I forgot to post a video saying I was going down to Texas. So hope you didn't show up and feel jilted. Join us on Sunday for Brian Malinsky of Malinsky Custom Knives. His stuff is beautiful. He's a guy I met down there in Texas. I'm going to be talking to a bunch of people that I met down there, and he was the first one. Really interesting dude, and check out his gorgeous work. All right, for Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, until next time, please don't take dull for an answer.